it's Sean, and I'm here to do another unboxing video because I didn't get any more work done on Voyager this week. You can see how the starboard pinstripes are not yet in place. So I decided that since I have a whole bunch of model kits, and mostly I have an entire shelving unit that's almost completely devoted to Star Trek, with the exception of the bottom shelf, which is Star Wars, I decided that I would unbox one of the ships. So this week's going to be the Kelvin. Next week's going to be one of my two Franklins. So if anyone is watching and needs another still sealed in its original plastic Franklin, one weekend I accidentally bought two, so I could sell one. Anyway, we'll take a look at this box here. So it's from Mobius Models, and its copyright date is 2018, so it is actually produced 2 years after Star Trek Beyond. And you can see the ship there. So it's 1,000 scale, 11 inches long, 7 inches wide, and it has a very fancy looking display stand, as you can see here. And my hope is once I built it, to take it to a convention and get Chris Hemsworth to sign it as George Kirk. That's probably a pipe dream by now, given how famous Chris Hemsworth has become. But it's something to hope for anyway. I had to do that so that I wouldn't get any, don't want the box cover to get wet. Alright, so the instructions are also in full color, as you can see. Well, not full color, more like, what do they call it, sepia or something? The black and white that tinged more towards the brown, but in any case, there you go. They show everything. How to assemble the saucer and its sensor palettes, how to put all the little pieces, which are the phaser cannons, into the saucer, or you could also include the phaser cannon doors. I'll try to include the phaser cannons themselves. They shouldn't be too big. Deflector dish and secondary hull. Yeah, moment here. Move this a bit. Wasn't even recording during all that. Sorry about that. Once you get to the Aztec section of the model, so after you do all the assembly, then it talks about painting, and it talks about a warm medium gray, which is almost like the Tamiya equivalent of steel gray. And you gradually make it more subtle. But it seems to me, especially after you use these decal patterns, of course, for all you know, HDA Model Works has them, you might be able to actually use two similarly colored Tamiyas so the contrast isn't as stark. Now, as you can see, I have a lot of grays here, right? Like I have AS32. Now that's a warmer gray. It's an IJN gray. Also have TS81. See? Now, those are similar enough that could be used for the very subtle Aztecing. So that's enough for the instructions. Now we move on to the actual decals. Now I'm sure the decals are pretty simple. They're probably just the ship and registry itself, and that seems to indicate that. Now the interesting thing is there are two versions. Now I'm not sure which is which. I believe that because I believe Lou built the Kelvin, he said there's one version that's somewhat aged and another version that is not so aged. Now, let me check those instructions again. What did the decal say? He didn't say anything about 12A. I'm looking. It's fascinating. I'm not sure what the difference is for 12 and 12A. All right, I found the difference. The top decal set is slightly faded and aged. You might be able to see how there are deliberately paint chunks missing from some of the registry numbers. But if you look at the same one for 12A, it's fully intact. So if you want a slightly aged look, use the top half. If you want a fresh from the shipyards look, use the bottom half. Okay, well that explains everything. Now on to the parts. All right, so here we go. So I know it almost came off its tree. Part number, gets part number 5. And you see how it's a creamy kind of brownish light gray right from the start? Yeah, give me a moment. Here's the royal light gray for the TOS Enterprise. Look at how much more blue it is. So you're probably going to have to go for AS18 to get it right. But I'd like to make the main hull color the royal light gray to start with, simply because it's an homage to the TOS time frame, and Kirk was born in a shuttle that was fleeing that ship. And I guess this is the, well, if that was a warp nacelle, this is probably the secondary hull. And a few other details, as you can see. It has a few greeblies, that's good. So we'll put these back in their bag and move on. All right, so we're back at the next bag. So it looks like these are the saucer rim extensions. Maybe that's a Bassard collector. Little antennae. That's probably from the base. These are probably the little phaser turrets and or the closed phaser panel doors. And they are contained within the USS Kelvin base. You can see the lettering's already made out there. So look at, there you go. Commissioned in 2225, approximately 20 years before the TOS Enterprise. So we'll see what color you make that. Probably a black outline with silver or something. All right, and then we get to the clear tree. So it probably has the Bassard collectors, and that's probably a deflector dish and everything. So those will be, once again, if they can be, painted from the inside so you don't mess up the paint surface on the outside. All right, so here we go. So there's the metal rod. And here is the top half of the saucer. You can see the doors where those phaser rings go in. But look, I never knew before. It actually has phaser turrets as well. And there's the section of hull repair panels. So that's another reason, because remember, it was 2233 at the beginning of Star Trek 2009. So the ship had already been out for 8 years. So it makes sense for it to have already been aged. That's why I choose the aged decals. And here's the bottom hull. Didn't know it had phaser doors too, see? So I'm going to try to add, and look, 2 phaser turrets, just like in the motion picture. So you can tell that things were a bit more advanced in that time frame. All right. All right. So that is all. That's all for the unboxing of the Kelvin from Star Trek 2009. And you can see there's the Enterprise there. Now, you've already seen that kit. I unboxed the Kelvin vs. Enterprise almost 2 years ago. That's from the original 2013 release, so it's already 10 years old, this kit. And I never really noticed a lot of difference between Into Darkness and its configuration in Star Trek 2009, but that's the only kit they made from Revell for that line. And as I said, next week I will unbox the Franklin. This is 350 scale. Now that's interesting. You see how the box is right side up, this cover? Well, look. They put the cover on upside down before they sealed it. That's how it's supposed to look to show the back of the box. So you can see the how it looks right side up. So it's 15 inches long, so it's only about, well, it's 20 inches shorter than the 350 refit, so the Franklin's a lot smaller. Starfleet emblem display base, good. So that's good. And this is a 2018 kit as well. So they were both released in the same year, 2018. So that'll be good for next week. Let's see if I can get a good photo of it. There. So that's all for this week on Sean's Model Builds, and we'll see you here next week for the unboxing of the Franklin. Bye-bye.